I am, First Fruits. This chapter by chapter Bible study series has been the biggest upgrade of my spiritual life, period. I have not deep dived into these chapters ever. It was not interesting to me to learn history and to learn about the kings and then this and all of these things. But now I'm diving into it and I am invested. When God called me to this, I was like, you want me to teach what? And that lit a fire under me that was like, oh, well, I gotta learn more. I gotta get it together, because if I'm gonna be talking about your word to other people, I need to know what the heck I'm talking about. Learning about our God in the Old Testament really changes my perspective of the character of God, and I feel like I'm learning so much more about him that it is changing my life. And some of y'all been sleeping on the Old Testament, because I know I was. But we're going to keep on going through the Bible because, wow. Let's get into it because I know your time is precious. In chapter 15, it is moving by pretty quickly. We're going through kings like crazy. And we're just moving right along here. Just flushing the kings out, figuring out what the heck is going on. What the heck is going on is mainly people are trying to rule without God, and it is messy and sinful, and it's just gradually getting worse. Chapter 16. Now the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha, because I raised you up from the dust and made you ruler over my people. But you have walked in the ways of Jeroboam and have caused my people to sin, angering me with their sins. Take note. I will eradicate Baasha and his house, and I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Anyone who belongs to Baasha and dies in the city, the dogs will eat. And anyone who is his and dies in the field, the birds will eat. Quickly goes to the end of Baasha's dynasty with Jehu's prophecy. And then Elah, Baasha's son, has a short reign and is assassinated while he's drunk, actually. Verse 8. In the 26th year of Judah's king Asa, so Asa, the only somewhat godly king for Judah, is still reigning, and he seems to stay steadfast here. Elah, son of Baasha, became king over Israel, and he reigned in Tirzah 2 years. 2 years. His servant Zimri, commander of half his chariots, conspired against him while Elah was in Tirzah, getting drunk in the house of Arza. In the 27th year of Judah's king Asa, Zimri went in, struck Elah down, killing him. Then Zimri became king in his place. When he became king, as soon as he was seated on his throne, Zimri struck down the entire house of Baasha. He did not leave a single male, including his kinsmen and his friends. So the Lord used Zimri to take out Baasha, just like Jehu said. In verse 16, it says, when these troops heard that Zimri had not only conspired but had also struck down the king, then all Israel made Omri, army commander, king over Israel that very day in the camp. Omri, along with all Israel, marched up from Gibbethon and besieged Tirzah. When Zimri saw that the city was captured, he entered the citadel of the royal palace and burned it down over himself. He died because of the sin he committed by doing what was evil in the Lord's sight and by walking in the ways of Jeroboam, and the sin he caused Israel to commit. Baasha was killed. Elah became king, but Elah was killed by Zimri, who wiped out all of Baasha's family. And now we see that Zimri burnt down the palace and died within it because he realized that they found out what he did and he was not going to be king. At that time, the people of Israel were divided between two people to be king. Half of the people wanted a man named Tibni, son of Ginath, and to make him king, and half followed Omri. However, the people who followed Omri proved stronger than those who followed Tibni, son of Ginath, so Tibni died and Omri became king. This is like the game of King of the Hill when you're like pushing each other off a rock real quick. That's what this feels like. I'm reading this and I'm immediately noticing the instability of Israel right now. Your house is divided, you have conspiracies, people are trying to kill the kings to become king, and it's just sinful, and it's very unorganized. And meanwhile, Asa, the only good king that we've seen, is actually doing pretty well, staying steadfast. So far we haven't seen anything coming from that. And it just shows you how peaceful it is to just have God leading and just helping us in this, in any kind of earthly endeavors. It then goes to talk about how Omri became king, and what Omri did was worse than all of the other kings of Israel before. And then we get to Ahab. Ahab, it mentions in the word that he is kind of the worst of all of them. And it gets pretty bad. Verse 30. But Ahab, son of Omri, did what was evil in the Lord's sight more than all who were before him. Then, as if following the sin of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, were not enough, he married Jezebel, and we all know that name, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and then proceeded to serve Baal and bow and worship to him. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal. Ahab also made an Asherah pole. Ahab did more to anger the Lord God of Israel than all kings of Israel who were before him. During his reign, Hiel, the Bethelite, built Jericho at the cost of Abram, his firstborn, and he laid its foundation, and at the cost of Segub, his youngest, as he finished the gates. This was a curse by Joshua. God brought down Jericho, and Joshua cursed anyone who tried to build it back up, because it being destroyed was supposed to be a permanent memorial of God's power and judgment, and that no one was supposed to build it up. And here we have this man building it up, and the Bible notes that it cost his firstborn and it cost his youngest. The curse that was pronounced by Joshua actually happened to this man. The curse was to serve as a warning. And it's interesting that we end up following the wrong stuff and serving the wrong things, that we forget what God warns us of, and we forget what God tells us. My head is spinning trying to keep up with all these kings. But I'm glad that Asa is still keeping it cool in Judah right now. We see the instability of wickedness, and we see how each king's sins gradually continues to get worse. That is a theme in our own life. Sin gradually tends to get worse. As my pastor would say, sin will take you where you don't want to go, and it'll take you there longer than you want to be. More prophecies coming true. I have to tell you, I really have enjoyed being in this theological and historical vacuum that is leading us to our perfect King. The one true right King, King Jesus. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next 4 a.m. when we cover chapter 17.